Hey people, welcome to the channel, and again talking about firearms survival and self-defense, a topic that we usually feel quite fascinated about in the prepper and survival community. We like guns, we like talking about guns, we like talking about the possible situations in which we may find ourselves, how we would use them, the training that you get and all of that good stuff. That's all great. Then there's the thing of realistic. What is likely to happen? What is actually happening in places where things are dangerous? What is fantasy and what is realistic approach to all of this? Look, I have a Spanish channel, you probably know. I write in Spanish as well. Actually, my books in Spanish are the best-selling survival books. The best-selling survival books in Spanish happen to be my own, right? And keep in mind that it's not exactly a community that is extremely wealthy or anything like that. In fact, not only is that the case, books in most of Latin America are 2-3 times more expensive than what they are for you in the United States or Europe, simply because these books are often printed in these locations, not in South America, and because of shipping and import duties and whatnot, it ends up costing quite a bit. Still, people have the need for this knowledge so much that they make the extra effort and they buy them. And they send me the pictures of, look, I just got your book. I'm drinking my mate somewhere and I'm reading your book. This is so cool. Thank you. And this really warms my heart because it just goes to show that people appreciate all of this information, especially, in places where it's actually needed. That's the thing that, humbles me the most, especially from people that are in Argentina, in Chile, where things have been a little bit rough for some people living out in the farms with some of these left-wing terrorist groups attacking them and whatnot. And other parts as well. I got an email from someone in Ukraine a couple of days ago. These things I know help people out, so I take these extremely seriously. In Argentina, there's been a recent change in the legislation by which you can now buy semi-automatic firearms with magazine-fed semi-automatic firearms beyond 22 long rifle. It used to be, and this is fairly common in some restrictive countries, where you could buy handguns, but semi-automatic carbines like your AR, like your FAL, extremely limited. It is only if you are like on a very dedicated part of the firearms collecting and owning community that you could afford these things and you could even acquire them at all. It was extremely, extremely rare, so much so that most people didn't even know you could have them. And that's just the way it's been for a long time. Now, it has changed so that people have quite a bit more access to semi-automatic long guns. And they're considering buying them because, yes, unlike other parts of the world where people focus more on sports or just, the fun aspect of shooting, there's an actual realistic need to defend yourself in some of these places, all right? And this is something I've been getting questions about. I just did a video in my Spanish channel about this stuff. And people are wondering, what is it I should buy? Again, as I said before, in South America, people don't have a lot of this. People don't have a ton of money. Whatever they buy, they really do a lot of research. They make sure this is the best thing for them. And often they make sure it's actually needed, And here is where I'd like to address that part. Do you actually need an AR? Do you need an FAL? Do you need a long gun? Are you perfectly capable of defending yourself with a handgun? And you know what? Most likely, you're just fine with a handgun. I've seen things in which, yes, having an FAL, yeah, it does change things a little bit, or quite a bit. If you're living out in the sticks and you have to defend yourself from, more than just a couple of attackers. You're talking about you're out in the sticks, you're living in a farm in Argentina where it is. You don't even have neighbors. It may be an entire day driving before you find someone else in some places. Not everywhere, but in some places, yes, it is very, very isolated. And if not that, it is even hours away. Definitely help not coming for you anytime soon. The same thing happens in some parts of Chile. The same thing happens in, struggling with a little bit of a sore throat here. The same thing happens in several parts of the world. South Africa, places where you really need to maximize your capabilities with the adequate tool. Now, if that's the case, yeah, sure, you want to get your handgun, you want to pack, you want to carry, you want to have access to your rifle, you better keep it close by, especially if you live in a dangerous place. But other than that, no, the reality is that in most cases, in most like robberies and especially home invasions, if you're in your house and you're watching a movie, you hear something crash, you break, you hear a window broken, you hear someone forcing their way in, the handgun is going to be a thing that's going to be more useful. You get attacked or you get, ambushed when going back into your house or when leaving, getting out of your vehicle and whatnot. Situations that we've seen, the handgun it's going to be there with you. It is your main gun. It's the thing and often it's more than enough. If you have the knowledge, if you have the training, if you know how to use these things, the handgun like a Glock, high capacity, it's going to be more than enough to, give you a fair shot of solving that situation. Just carrying around your AR all day long is hardly ever a realistic thing. Again, I repeat myself, I'm not saying it's not necessary in certain situations, in certain locations. If you are in the sticks, if you live in a farm, if you're more isolated, that may well be. Keep in mind, I'm honestly talking about, yes, there is really no one around. This thing of, oh yeah, I live in the middle of nowhere. Do you have a neighbor? Yeah. Can you visibly see your neighbor from your house? Because if you can visibly see your neighbor from your house, then you're really not as isolated as you probably think you are. I would in fact encourage you to be nice to your neighbors, talk with them, and if they suddenly hear gunfire, maybe call the freaking cops, maybe do something. That's actually something that's going to be far more useful than just sticking to yourself, not having conversations with people in your street, and just focusing on, I'm going to buy a bunch of guns. Often there's things that there's no point. You have your handgun, you have a rifle, couple other guns. This thing that we do about having 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 different guns, there's really no, again, this is more collecting. You're past the point of 3 guns, you're collecting guns. Oh, no, but I really, really need, okay, you really need a pistol. All right, you really need a carbine. You really need a heavy carbine. You need your FAL or your AR-10 or whatever it is. Oh, I really need a 22 and a shotgun. Dude, past 10 guns, you're just collecting crap. Unless you're a very dedicated shooter, you're buying things that you're never going to use. So I encourage you, go buy some body armor, go buy some training. Hell, definitely buy my books. That's going to help you get in the right track, given that many chapters are stuff that you learn in these classes. Dude, spend the 20 or 25 bucks or whatever it is that's going for these days. That's going to be far more useful than buying yet another gun that you don't even know how to use correctly. Pay for the training. Best money you can spend in guns is training with a qualified instructor, not just any clown that thinks he's Rambo, right? Oh, I have someone. Yeah, you have a ton of ammo. Have you actually used it in serious professional training? With qualified instructors, people that are good at teaching. I don't care what they did in whatever part of the world. Are they good instructors? Because that's what's going to help you. If he's the fastest gun in the fucking West, it doesn't change you one bit. You need a good instructor. Someone that is a good instructor. That's what you want. That's going to be the best money you spend. Buying more shit is not going to do that. Okay? One of the things I do see, especially for the video that I did for folks in Argentina, keep in mind the cost of ammunition. It is expensive. Not only are the guns expensive, the ammo is expensive. You know what's the quickest cure for a trigger-happy guy with an FAL? Buying .308 ammunition. It is damn expensive. 5.56, really not all that cheap either. 9mm, yeah, still, but hey, if I have my Glock or whatever 9mm I have, and I want to have a gun that allows me to shoot at a little bit of a further distance and with a little bit more ease and accuracy, well, a 9mm carbine like the one you see there, which is kind of like a Frankenstein thing with different AR parts, that's quite versatile. And there's a number of carbines. What is it? The Scorpion. There's a bunch of manufacturers that make carbines in 9mm using Glock mags. That's actually something I feel, it's going to give you some of these advantages. And you're not going to break the bank, and it's not nearly as expensive to feed it for practicing, for training, and you get some of those benefits. The longer barrel, ease of shooting, and it's still 9mm. It's no joke. It's not an air gun. even a 22 is a serious round, but you're talking about 9mm in a longer barrel. It's gonna get quite a bit of speed. And if you use good plus P ammo, anything that's a little bit spicier, a little bit hot with a longer barrel, it's gonna put a dent on whatever you're shooting at. Now, it's not gonna be a 5.56. It's definitely not gonna be a 308. Now, I'm living in the middle of Patagonia in Argentina, middle of nowhere. I'm living in Chile you can't even have these things. So I'm not even. But let's say you're living in Santa Cruz in Argentina, Patagonia, sort of desert, nothing for hundreds of miles around you, and you're worried about someone showing up with a couple of pickups and picking you clean. Oh, I will definitely want to have an FAL. I mean, hell, not even the AR. I'll go with the FAL. I'll get a bunch of ammo, and if I'm lucky, I'm going to put a shit ton of rounds into whatever got close that I know is a threat. And so be it. Now, having said all of that, let's put our feet back on Earth, planet Earth. Welcome here again, right? Let's be real. What are the chances of you doing that? I mean, you could do it. I know of situations that people have handled it. I know these things that can happen. And having an FAL, trust me, it makes people shit their pants. They will not like that thing one bit, especially when it starts barking. When it starts putting holes in things, oh yeah, they will. It's probably going to be the same if you shoot them with 9mm. Let's be real with that too. They're probably going to go away if you start shooting them accurately with a 22. But with a 308, granted, it is a big round. That's a 308, 5.56, 9mm. That's the snap cap for, it is a big round. But if you are in a South Africa sort of situation, the chances of you actually pulling this, I was having a conversation with someone in Argentina a guy that has a nice place, a lot of money, big farm, buildings, money, stuff, machines. Dude, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to exaggerate. I think it was weeks, maybe a couple months later, he got hit. Exactly as I told him it would happen. He did nothing. He has all the guns. He has he's very good shooting. He could do nothing. He would not even, I don't even think he was there. They just got someone that works there in a place, gun to their head, moving from building to building, and they picked their place clean. Of course they did. What do you think was going to happen? Now, if you're living in a place where you need this kind of security, and then probably you need a couple guys pulling guard. Can you afford that? Oh, no, there's no way. All right, then that's too bad because that's exactly what you need. I will go as far as saying, look, if you live in a place where you need that thing to keep yourself safe, you probably should use that money to buy a plane ticket and get the fuck out of there because it's too damn dangerous. If you're living in South Africa or you're living in post-collapse, hell on earth Argentina, then get the hell out of there, right? Get the hell out of there. It's really not worth the squeeze. It's really not worth the risk. And just having a bigger gun is not going to change that. Now, having said all of that, buy whatever you want. You're happy with the AR, go with the AR. I think that everyone should have a long gun and a pistol, right? You want to go with the FAL, great. The alternative of the pistol caliber option, I think is super interesting and may be exactly what you need, especially if you're in a tight budget, but want to have a little bit more. You want to have a little bit more accuracy and long-range effective shooting. I think it's a valid alternative. But the final decision is going to be up to you. I'm just helping you decide these things and bring things back to earth and be reasonable with a topic that is often muddied the waters by the fantasy, the wishful thinking, and way too much movies. Take care.